Hello everyone, it's James from Keeping It Anime, and today we're talking episode 95 of Yugioh Vrains. Now, this episode was a fantastic episode. It was a very enjoyable duel, like the duel between Soulburner and Bohman had a good conclusion. As well as the fact is, it played quite nicely and flowed very well. So we'll start with the duel. The duel basically introduces us to some good skills, which is the Atlantis monster that Bowman summoned last turn, the one that attacked the Cyber's world, has the ability that you can roll a die. Depending on the attribute that you roll, determines what attribute that monster is. That monster can then give any monsters linked to that monster the same attribute, which I'll get to in a minute, because that is quite useful for Bowman. Another skill that this monster had is that you can roll another die, and depending on the number rolled, you can summon a link monster from your extra deck, based on the number. So link 3 monster, to get that out you'd have to roll a 3. Now, Konami hasn't actually issued or released any Link 5 or Link 6 monsters yet. We don't know what's coming in the future, but with this skill, you can summon a Link 5 or a Link 6 monster. And that is quite terrifying, if I'm honest with you, because I don't play the card game very much, but even I can tell that a Link 6 monster would have a broken skill, much like how Xyz monsters that are level 12 are just too overpowered for their own good. Okay, so we also get the return of High Drive Monarch, which has a dice effect that whatever attribute you roll, you can destroy your opponent's monsters based on that attribute. And we also get a new monster from Soulburner, which is a Link 4 monster called Pyro Phoenix, which is a pretty decent card. I like the design. The design of the card is quite good. Skill wise, it's not a bad skill. You can target one of your opponent's monsters and deal half of the original attack points of that monster, which would have won Bowman the Soulburner the duel had the skill taken effect. Sorry about the dog barking if you can hear that in the background. But Soulburner, basically at the end of this duel, super reincarnation summons into Pyro Phoenix. Sorry, it took me a minute to remember that. Pyro Phoenix, which was a good scene, and I like that scene. The thing is, I hate it whenever they try and make something sound cool or more powerful, and they just add the word super. And that's exactly what they did here. But oh well, I'm willing to forgive him for that. And basically, he's about to win thanks to the effect and attacking. Bowman uses yet another hand trap card, which by the way, he has so many of these cards in his deck that it's just stupid. It's almost as bad as Playmaker and his graveyard effects. But anyway, Soulburner has a chance to get double attack points. But in order to do that, he has to roll a Pyro symbol on the die. He does, and in doing so, he's allowed to get double the attack points. He has a monologue to himself after what happens with Flame, which I'll get to in a second, and he basically ends up rolling a Pyro's attribute. Good, he's about to win. Then Bowman uses yet another hand trap card, forcing Pyro Phoenix to go to a different slot on the duel disc, or table, or board, whatever you want to call it now. I don't even know what they're playing on. Their duel discs don't even look like they can handle cards. But yeah, and Bowman moves it to line up with his Atlantis monster, which gives Pyro Phoenix the Aqua's attribute. which means the dice effect kicks in again because Soulburner rolled a Pyros, and the effect of the card is if you roll the attribute your monster is, you double it. Anything else, you go to 0. And because he rolled something else now, his monster went to 0, attacking Monarch, which was 3000, dealing himself damage, forcing him to lose the duel. That was a little bit unfortunate for Soulburner, but it was a great way to end the duel. Now the Windy situation. The Windy situation was very good. It was handled almost perfectly. And the reason why I say almost is because it was a bit of a shock value. They did it in a way we wasn't expecting it to happen. Like, we knew that something was coming from Windy in this duel, but the way they did it was different than anyone could have slightly predicted. Now, the animation in this scene did drop a little bit, but they were using many shapes, angles, things that were quite weird and distorted, so I can give them a pass on it simply because it would have been quite hard and a time-consuming job to do that. But nevertheless, we have a scene where Windy is trying to absorb Flame, and he then tries to devour Soulburner midway through the duel, might I state. And Windy's actually being more arrogant and still quite angry, because Bowman's like, stop, and Windy's like, shut up, don't give me orders. So it just proves that even though Windy lost, he's still quite arrogant. Anyway, Flame basically absorbs Windy again and kind of manages to suppress him in a way. But then Flame fades and quote-unquote dies. He disappears, goes into data, requesting that Soulburner wins this duel and stops Bowman. This obviously fires up, and feelings are one thing that AIs are not supposed to have. And we've seen Bowman have feelings throughout this entirety of, this arc. And he actually shows more compassion and consideration towards Soulburner in this duel, because he states that he thinks the duel can't continue after what happened to Soulburner's partner Flame. So that was quite an interesting bit of dialogue. And Bowman has had some good lines in this episode. Like, before Soulburner loses and rolls the dice to determine if he gets double the attack or nothing, Bowman states that we create our own fate. I'll leave it up to you to decide your own path. I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like that. As well as the fact is, he says a few other things that were quite good in this episode. So yes, the whole situation with Windy was handled well. They also explained how it happened by stating that the whole the whole glitching of Flame last episode and this episode was Windy trying to rewrite Flame's programming. So at least they showed us and told us how this event occurred and how it was, transpiring. So that was really good. But like I said, Soulburner loses. Bowman now has Aqua's, Wind, thanks to Windy, Flame, and Earth. He has those in his possession. He turns around and says, I've done my warm-up. I finished my training. I am ready for Playmaker. And then walks off. So the episode ends there. But a couple of things I forgot to mention were Playmaker waking up. That was a disappointment, because it was simply the fact is that Kusanagi was going, wake up, hey, wake up, Yusaku. And then Yusaku wakes up. That was thrown in the middle of an episode that for me was very quick and kind of a bit out of place. I thought they could handle that a bit better. Another thing was that Revolver asked Gnome and the Faust to basically go and pick up Kusanagi's body from the hot dog truck. So Revolver is basically showing a bit more compassion towards his allies. So that's a nice thing to see. I hope this doesn't mean that Revolver is going to be all goody-goody. I like him being the anti-hero. I like that about Revolver. I think that's pretty cool about his character. But nevertheless. So next episode preview. Next episode preview, we've got Lightning talking to Revolver in the flower field. And we know that Revolver has a secret about Lightning, but we don't know what it is. That's all we know is that Revolver knows something that we don't. And this is going to be a really fun and enjoyable episode to actually watch, because it's we're going to see Lightning get antagonized a lot more. And we know that Revolver is going to be under Lightning's skin. And that's always fun to see. To see an antagonist be so unhinged and agitated like Lightning already is, and then get increased upon those feelings, even though Lightning has stated he's above having feelings. It's quite ironic and quite fun to see from a viewer's standpoint towards a villain. I don't know, I quite like it. It's when like two villains come together and they try and take each other down. So that's going to be fun. I hope that there'll be a duel, but I actually wouldn't mind having just a dialogue episode that reveals quite a lot, and then it might transpire into a duel towards the end of the episode. Like, I don't want it to be a 5-minute discussion and then they start dueling. And on a last note, the angle they ended the preview on, with Lightning sort of standing up and the camera looking up, that was very awkward. I don't know, I felt uncomfortable looking at Lightning from that angle. But anyway, that's all I've got for this episode. It was a very enjoyable episode, and if you haven't watched it yet, I would highly recommend for you to go and watch it. But other than that, guys, subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. Smash that like button if you like this video. And until next time, keep it anime.